No problem. I'll just one shloka praising Shankara and one shloka on Tushnim Baba. We'll say. Yes. Sada Shiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. In the beginning, there is Shiva, who is the world's Guru. Then, in the middle, there is Shankaracharya, who is again our Guru. And today, whomsoever is our Guru, we prostrate to all Gurus. After that, Tushnim Avastha Paramopashantihi Buddherasatta Kalpita Vikalpaheto Brahmatmana Brahmavido Mahatmano Yatraiva Advaita Sukham Nirantaram. To the sage who has realized Brahman, the mind which is the cause of all these unreal fantasies becomes perfectly tranquil. This very state of great quietude, he is identified with Brahman and he is in the constant bliss of Brahman itself without any other thing, one without a second. Okay, Ji, please go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, let's talk about from perspective of a seeker who is still seeking and thinks that he has not realized the self or Brahman. One thing he or she should try to do is stick to that Brahman even without knowing. How can you do that? How can you know that Brahman which you have not realized? It's very simple. Don't remember things which are not Brahman. Don't desire for things which are not Brahman. Don't be attached to things which are not Brahman. Don't be interested in things which are not Brahman. And even if you don't know what is Brahman, just have that regard, that love, that longing for that Brahman. That's all. Even when you don't know what it is, where it is, how it is, within me, without, try to be a devotee of that unknown. That is more than enough. They say that if you remember that, you can replace this Brahman by God, Brahman by self, whatever awareness, consciousness, no name, no form, but you can use anything, what you believe. Even you can call it Jesus or Krishna or Ram or Prophet or whatever. Doesn't matter. It stays the same. Your intention for that, which for you right now might be unknown, is more than enough. They say non-remembrance is death and remembrance is eternal life. Remembrance is eternal life. So whatever it is, if you are interested in that, because look, here it is not your mind which can take you somewhere, or your intellect, your buddhi, that how it looks and I have to think about. Just your loving intention for it, your longing for it is more than enough. You are clinging to it. You are clinging to it, and that is more than enough. The moment you are interested in remembering other things, but not that, Maya is surrounding you. You are in grip of Maya. Though living in Maya, if you remember that, Maya cannot touch you. This is so simple. So no fear, you become fearless. In that pure awareness, you become fearless. Because that, even knowing that, even having that belongingness, the more you are interested, more you will start feeling it. Your own attachment to it comes from within also. They both work together. This is so beautiful. And as a sadhak goes deeper and deeper in its own remembrance, that fragrance of knowing it, understanding it, closer to it, becomes so profound in so many ways, giving you a reassurance again and again that you are that, until there is complete merger. For most of the people, the process is slow and beautiful. In this slow process, in slow cooking, it works so beautifully. But you have to keep your attention there. Just like there is whole sansara, everything is going around us. But if you focus on that pure awareness, that is more than enough. Even if you keep moving out on and off, but your attention, you keep bringing attention there with efforts. Just like the pivot, the Indian atta chakki, they grind wheat grains and the wheat flour comes. So those in the middle, which are clinging to that source, they don't get destructed. They are the ones which are saved. So by hook or crook or any method, if you just stay there, focused, stumbling, whatever happening, whatever life bringing, but you are just clinging to it, holding it, that is more than enough. That will do the job. Till you are in this game of Maya, illusion in a body with a mind, doing things. Doing things is very important, because if you think you are doing, then you are a gone case. But if things are happening, but you stay as a witness to things, then you are already saved. All this doership and I will do and I will prove and I have done and all these things of ahem, ego, they are very dangerous, because then we are actually strengthening ego only, nothing else. All these people who call about karma yoga, who talk about doership, I will do, they have taken a very dangerous path. It is really dangerous path, because it is not even a path. What is karma yoga? Karma yoga can only happen when you are egoless. When you are egoless, you are brahman. When you are brahman, then who is the doer? And what karma in illusion? Do you think karma yoga is for a liberated soul? But if you see, karma yoga can happen only from a liberated soul, because there is no doership. If you ask any good teacher, he will tell you not to pick up too many tasks unless they knock on your door, or unless it is going through your previous activities, because that can be very dangerous. Because every action you do, it is hard not to think about results or the fruits. And then the process of reaching up to the end, that anxiety, that restlessness, that desire, who owns all that? Only ego. So the path of action, I don't believe is a path. I might be completely wrong, but I don't believe it is a path. Already we are doing so many things in our life. It's better to watch them as a witness. That is more than enough. Because already we are entangled from morning till evening. Even if you're not doing any job, a house job itself can put you into this illusion that I am doing and I've done for my family and I've cooked this morning and now I've done cleaning and nobody else is doing. Whatever it is. All the time, doership. Doership is a big issue. So leaving doership, if things happening with the body, it's okay. Not happening, much better. For me, I think inaction takes you to that godhood much faster, much quicker, smoother than being the driver of this karma yoga bus and putting in the ditch, of ego, big ego. Lot of people try to do for others, and Bhagavan, if Bhagavan is there, he will say, what others? Who are others? Because if you see, if everything is an illusion, what are you trying to achieve in this illusion by karma yoga? What are you trying to achieve? I'm telling you because most of the people who are in this, they are so much wrathsick. They have tendencies to keep proving them, keep proving their legacy, keep proving what good they are. And their mind keeps ticking. You know what is liberation? Liberation is death of the mind. Do you think this mind will lead to its own death when you're using it all the time? When you're bound by mind, how can you be free from mind? Can you do actions desireless? If you can do it, then that's good enough. But how that action will come to you, tell me, if you have no desire. Then only action will come which is needed through this body. Being given as a task. So that becomes very minimal action. Best test is from morning till evening, how the day goes. See how many actions are your own desire, how many you're dragged into. There are actions which are just neutral actions. You have to drop someone, you have to go to work, or it's not about desire. See, same action can be full of desire and same action can be without desire. But the action appears the same. It depends how is your internal environment about it. It all boils down to your intentions, where your attention is. You can continue doing things with your whole attention on this pure awareness. with effort or effortless when it becomes natural. And so is the reason why to a liberated soul, no karma bounds, because he is not putting any intention for anything for any reason. So nothing bounds. But even with effort, you can be in that to start with by staying in this desireless mode. And it's not a surprise. You try to stay in this desireless mode, still there are so many things will keep coming to you, because destiny which has led to this body will make sure that this body does its job as destined. This is what exactly Bhagavan's teachings are. Even all the time, people used to come to him and they used to talk about always about action. How can you sit without action? And what purpose are you sorting out in this society? And Bhagavan always said the same thing again and again and again, that if you're destined to do things, you can't sit and it has to be done through you. So you don't worry. You, as he is trying you to understand that you have to move out from this ego mode, from this doership, and then you are already free. It is not the action which bounds us, it is our intention behind actions, how we take those actions. Same action can be path of liberation when there is no doership, when there is no personal desire in it, when we have no personal desire and the action is happening. If things happens whatever way, then you're already in your peace. Liberation is the path of least resistance and total acceptance. It is the definite path of eternal happiness. And you are always happy when nothing is on stake. You're not losing, you're not gaining. Impartial, neutral approach to life. How can that come with ego? Can never come. How can you do karma yoga with ego? You can never do. Remember that pure awareness, whether this body is doing an action or not doing an action. You stay as witness. And when your mind pulls you and you suffer, suffering is always when we feel that we are a doer. Why we say, oh, look, I am a failure. We must have made up a goal and we were attached to that goal. And when we didn't reach goal, we think we are failure. Who is getting failed here? It is only ego. And when we are so much involved in bodily actions where our intense desires are there, so many things are there, how can we remain as a witness? How can we remember Brahman? Simple understanding, and we are free. But problem is that you leave one thing and then there are million other desires waiting for you. Trap after trap after trap. Then who can save us? When we keep quiet. What Neelakantanji was saying in Sanskrit. Chumma Yeru in Tamil. Just keep quiet internally. No ruffles, no ripples.
Tushnim avastha, tushnim bhava. Be quiet.
Tushnim.
Bhava. Bhava means be. Tushnim quiet.
Beautiful. Just be quiet within, that's all. Actually, I have realized that more you keep quiet, more works comes towards you. If you can't help it. You don't want, still it comes. Work knocks on your door. Don't think you get it. If it has to happen, it will. If you are really lucky, then no work will come to you. That is also grace. Every way it is grace. If work comes, that might also be the way for your liberation. Like Bhagavan did with Annamalai Swamiji. Gave him work after work for 10 years or so or whatever. He did a lot of work and then done. Who cares, work or not work? Just be in that pure presence. That natural state, though it becomes so difficult for people to reach. It looks like a joke when someone says it's a natural state. Because the unnatural is so much natural right now that natural becomes so difficult. It is not just with human beings, even with animals. In Australia, there is a very interesting thing I came across. There is an Australian beetle. And there was a very fast decline in number of those beetles. Because what happened was the male Australian beetle thought the empty beer bottle, which was in brown in color with some dots at the bottom, as a female beetle. And whole day he was just sitting on that empty beer bottle which are lying everywhere, after having beer in the garbage or whatever. Never went to the real female beetle and their number declined. Because he got fooled by that bottle. Color was brown, that is also brown. It is big in size, but big is better, I believe. And then had some ruggedness in the... So they have to get rid of these bottles. I couldn't believe this, I couldn't believe that even these insects and birds, they can be fooled by these artificial things. Illusion within illusion. Recently, when we were doing this retreat, Parkinson's, there is a bird in Australia which I haven't heard before, bower bird. It loves blue, everything blue. And it has collected all the blue bottle caps of milk cans and all, or blue ribbons. I don't know from where it gets, and he has made like a small fort of all the blue stuff around it. Maybe he's looking for some blue feathers, because I'm pretty sure he's not looking for blue plastic stuff. Lot of things can deceive us, especially when this screen is always running by the movie without any break. Because when the movie stops, we disappear. We are also not there, in deep sleep. And then movie starts and we are there. So this is a dilemma when the movie stops and we are there, so we can know the screen. That is why there is so much of importance to going into sleep or coming out of the sleep, that period. But there is another good way, staying as the screen, just witnessing things, uninvolved internally. Hands can be involved, actions might be happening, but you are completely uninvolved internally. That is with some effort, some intention for it, some interest in it, and lot of grace for it. That grace comes from within. Soon you will start finding there is a huge gap between you, mind, and the body. And at some stage in your life, you'll be ashamed how I thought that I am this mind. How come I was in so much of grip of the mind that I was always reactive to all thoughts? Those not sometimes by action, but sometimes by creating thoughts after thoughts of sorrow or joy, believing on them. But in reality, we don't need any thought for any reason, at any time. But the thing is that ego cannot trust this statement, because ego is the one who thinks he is body and mind. To convince him is so difficult. So constant repetition of the same technique again and again by just trying to stay neutral, impartial, and see whatever is unfolding in front of you. And then again, you get pulled by the energy of this mind as an ego, as a doer, as a person. Person has collected a lot of trophies and conditioning. Again, come back to this, keep quiet. Whenever previous interest in a political party or a religious thing or whatever your conditioning pulls your interest and makes you biased, acknowledge it, and that's more than enough. You don't have to put a counter thought for it, just acknowledge. More you stay in this witness mode, more you gain energy and ground. You can hold this ground for longer. Let's say throughout the day, you wake up in morning till you go to bed, you might be slipping into the ego mode. But if your interest is there, how can you slip? Maybe initially when you forget it. But if you have zero interest, then there can't be any slipping back. And then there are so many tests to check yourself all the time. When someone is criticizing, do you feel bad? Or do you always have an opinion about everything in this world? Yes, you can have an opinion. There's no harm in it. But does it comes with some sort of agitation, some emotions? Or comes too strongly? Beautiful thing about spirituality is self-correction without going to jail. You self-correct, it's so beautiful. You become like you are trying to rectify. That man becomes, same man becomes that God. As if that God was hiding in this man. As you know, a sculpturist, he carves out a beautiful figure out of a stone. This is becoming, a flowering, a blossoming. It is so beautiful. And this teaching and this knowledge, to become that knowledge, unfortunately is not taught at school level, though we are taught some discipline, and I think they are the basic foundation, but they are also foundation of this trap, conditioning and competitiveness and individuality and achieving. But this journey of self evolving, I always thought that journey of evolution ends at human level by nature. Nature takes you up to here. You become a human being. You are given a human birth. From here, you have to take the jump. You have to put efforts. So, in this illusory world, you reach up to human being, and from here, you have to transcend. And we have everything, we have all the gadgets to do it. Only thing lacking is our interest. And it requires the only interest, not all interest, and then because it is not something which we have always learnt in life to achieve anything in life. We work hard, we focus on it, and we get it, and then we move on. Here, to achieve is something to give up all those tools which has made us to achieve wherever we have reached, whatever we are, to give up those tools now, accepting things and being a witness to things. All these teachings are needed to start on the journey to understand. And once you get your groove on it, you understand. And you don't have to understand intellectually, it is just your internal understanding that what is awareness, what is just this pure presence. That is what I am. Knowing that I amness, just a witness, but witness who is not judging, who is just witnessing. Once we get knack of it, you stay there. And that's all. There's nothing else here. It's not that complicated. You don't have to leave anything. You don't have to pick up anything. You don't have to change partner or job or place. Nothing. But you have to have this internal change. You have to step back from the doer mode to just presence mode. And everyone can do it because it is all inbuilt system. And the test of it is very simple. Every time when we speak from the ego, even if nobody understands that around us, we know it. We can fool everyone but not ourselves. So, and then you step back. How beautiful it is all. sage or a teacher or a teaching is useful only up to a level where you have to develop the right understanding and the right method and right path. And once you get it, it is your own internal journey towards that self. It's not even a journey, it is you only. Just establishing there strongly. And we might start on this journey with a lot of concepts and things, and then as you are reaching there, you know the truth now. And then you discard those things. But all those things were needed to start with. You have to start somewhere. Just like some people, they start with idol worship, and later, they can discard it. Very simple, very pure. And to identify that awareness is where no thought reaches, where thought has no power, where the thought even coming that way gets destroyed even before it reaches there. Thought has power only up to that entity which thinks that I own a body and mind, and I am this body, and I am doing, and I had a personal life. All thoughts are for that entity only. Beyond that, mind has no clue. Mind can think, mind can help in producing speech, planning. Mind can come with deep emotional thoughts. Just like your dream at night has no clue about the person who is already sleeping in bed, or the awareness through which it comes. And as soon as you are awake, dream disappears. And then comes this dream in waking state, which again goes away as soon as we are in our awakening, which is outside the domain of this time and space in which this play is going on. All what looks so real, it loses its effect. More you enter into the domain of your awareness, even though it stays, but it has no effect. Just like a lucid dream. When you dream, and in that dream you know it is a dream, you are so peaceful, even though it might be a nightmare. Everything what we see in this dream is coming from this mind, is coming from this mind and projecting outwardly. If you remove all the images coming out of the mind, including this body which we use, then what is left? What is left is always the same, none other than you. Intellectual understanding of this is of no use. If the dream has ended for me, I can only tell others, but they have to end their dream. It is like God or that power has given this projector called mind to everyone. And we sit in this mind and we think we are mind. To shut your own mind off, you have the button. Others can only show you. But switching on, switching off, it's all in your hand. You have to put efforts. You have to get up and turn it off. No one else can do it for you. Everyone can only point towards turning it off. Real Bhagavan is that real self in all of us. His teachings are simple, pure, direct, practical. This is practical Vedanta. If you pick up other books, they have dozens of techniques. If you ask Bhagavan's technique, there is no technique actually. Just know the silence and stay with it, that's all. He never spoke. He only showed the silence within him, which showed way to everyone. Self-inquiry, I, and whatever people say were his teachings for people who could not understand or who were not that mature seekers. Main teaching is his silence only. And when we are impartial, neutral, in a non-doer mode, we touch that silence only. When no thought is approaching you to advise you how to deal in this world, then there is silence only. When you are not doing anything in this world for this body mind, then you are in silence only. All this noise is made by ego only. And ego has to go. Ego cannot have darshan of the self. Ego is the obstruction. And ego is none other than us. We have to disappear. Some people are very smart, or I should say their egos are very smart. They hide behind the garb of a devotee or a disciple. as if Bhagavan will do everything for us and I can relax and do all the stupid stuff as a devotee. Bhagavan never wants us to be just a devotee. That's why he never made devotees. He wants all to be liberated. But till you are liberated, then you have to treat Bhagavan as your Guru. Because when you take him as your Guru, that Guru within you, which is you, gets pleased. It really gets pleased. There might be other gurus. As Neelakantanji was saying that prayer, because it's Shankaracharya's Jayanti or whatever it was, that is Shiva and then Shankaracharya and then this Guru. I would say Bhagwan and then us. Who else? We are not creating a long lineage here. You don't have to have many steps between you and Bhagwan. Bhagwan outside and Bhagwan inside. That's all. And the job is done. That is why sadhu oms, that is so beautiful. Om Namo Bhagavate Arunachal Ramanaya. Arunachal and Ramana, same, no difference. You can pray both of them by saying any single name also. Calling yourself, no difference. And so I say, buck stops here. Teachings cannot get more direct than this, more pure than this, and more easier than this. Have you followed any other sage? I don't know. Apart from Bhagavan. If not, then you are very lucky. But if you have followed someone else, you would realize that so many of them start from one end saying something else, and then after 5 years, 10 years, there's something saying else, and before they die, they start saying something else. They themselves are not stable what they were saying. Probably their devotees or their disciples have kept changing, so they have to keep changing. That can be the reason. But Bhagavan picked up silence and never said anything except silence. Rest all whatever he said was for people who could not understand his silence. So abide in this pure silence. And you know best what is best for you to abide in that silence. And just do that. It is so simple. You are your own guide, best guide. Somehow that interest takes us in a right direction, even though we are groping in this dark, illusory world. It just takes us, and that hand of faith holds us, and it takes us out of it. Bhagavan always said, you can't do it without a guru. And that self within is our best guru, best guide. There is something in the chat box by someone. James to me, direct message. Actions can't be avoided. Is not Karma Yoga all about acting with single pointed attention and merging with that attention? Actions can't be avoided. Okay, but that's okay. Actions can't be avoided. But actions, you let actions happen, but don't have ownership of these actions. Nobody is asking to avoid action. Action, the body will keep acting. It will keep dancing all the time, Is not Karma Yoga all about acting with single pointed attention and merging with that attention? Look, I don't think that is Karma Yoga. Acting with single pointed attention and merging in that attention. Like single pointed attention to what? And merging with that attention. Merging where? If James, you want to explain me, you are most welcome. But if there is no doership, then action happens or not happens doesn't matter. That ahem bhav, that ego attached to the action, that is a problem. If you can do action without ego, then you are not bound by that action. That's what I understand.
Yes, but does not that mean that single-pointed attention is required to ensure that the ego is not there, that the action is fulfilled if it's understood to be in accordance with the will of the Absolute?
Look, if you are not bothered about action, then action happening or not happening, who cares? Actually, Karma Yoga is what I understand is a bit different. Like a lot of people do Karma Yoga. They say that I'm working hard. I keep seeing this, keep doing this because I believe in action. I don't believe in just sitting and praying. Then just listen who is saying that. Is not there a lot of ego in it?
You mentioned earlier on, there's just a bit of confusion here, that's all. You mentioned earlier on that you don't believe in karma yoga.
Because that is the reason. I'm just exactly, that's what I said, and I gave a pause for you to understand.
Yes. That, and yet the Gita talks about karma yoga quite a lot. I'm just wondering...
that is the reason why I'm following Bhagavan. With the same simple reason. Gita doesn't talk a lot about Karma Yoga. Gita talks about so many yogas. Almost all the yogas. It's an encyclopedia. So if that attracts you, go ahead.
No,
but I
just wanting to
sort
it out. What the understanding that
we don't have to
here.
That is what James I'm saying. It is not our job to sort out all the paths. Believe on one path, follow it and finish your job. What other path people are doing or not doing, it's leave them to sort it out. We are no one to criticize, but what I have understood, it is the most difficult, because if you have only egoless person can do Karma Yoga, and when you are egoless, then things have already been done.
And just to, I guess, one's spiritual journey as a seeker, in my case, starts out with learning to act with full attention. And I think there's been a lot of value in that over the years. If we don't act, if we're doing surgery, for example, without full attention, without single-pointed attention, then we're likely to err. So it becomes a discipline for establishing the attention that's needed later on in one's spiritual development for attention to the self and the self only.
So what do you want to say?
Well, just that. I think there seems to be, at least in my own experience, that performing actions with single-pointed attention has been a very valuable and useful exercise as a practice.
So that means when you're doing an action, you don't think anything else?
No, that still happens, that thoughts come into mind, but it's possible with having the practice, the discipline behind one, to ignore the thoughts, and to see them there and just ignore them because they're not relevant to the action.
And do you do those actions with a doership?
Oh, I would have to be honest and say there's a lot of doership in general, but there are also actions performed when there's not doership. They're just the actions are performed with the fruits thereof surrendered to the self.
Surrender to the self. What do you mean by self?
Well, to the agency of the actions in the first place, which, for want of a better term, is the self, that which is beyond the ego, the personal ego.
James, the only thing I can tell you is, if you start witnessing rather than leave attention to the action and all those things, because whatever action we do, attention is always there in front of us. If it's a very important, attention comes there. If attention is going somewhere else and you're driving, then you will definitely have an accident. That has nothing to do with your spirituality or freedom or anything. That is not even a tool. That is not the Gita is saying that put attention to your work and that is karma yoga. It is not at all that. We have diverted to a very big extent from what it is talking about. I'll come to the point again. What Bhagavad Gita is talking about, so pristine, so pure. It is saying that do actions without desire, desireless actions, without doership. It has nothing to do with your attention or not attention. It is desireless action. Tell me what action is desireless? Everything is desire for me, this body, my family, my money, my business. It's full of desire, contamination, tainted. How can we do an action which is completely desireless? Then it becomes only seva. Then it becomes just doing. Not for me, not for this body. It is just giving. If that can be there, that is a very high. Karma yoga is so difficult to practice. That is why I am saying better to stay as a witness and let the body do. You can't stop actions. Body will continue doing actions. But you stay as a witness to it. That is what non-doership is. Practice that is more than enough. And what I was trying to give you a precaution as karma yoga, a lot of people go into 10 times more action than what they were doing and they start calling it karma yoga. And what I was trying to explain is that actions done every day, whatever in our small life, are more than enough for us to stay as a witness and to see how the actions are happening. If you pick up 10 times more tasks, then where that witnessing will happen? So much of ego, pride, and doership can come into it. It can become very dangerous. That is what I'm saying. Attention to work is not even a path of any liberating path. Attention, all doers, all doership, big egos, they are so intensively attentive to their task and they do it the best possible way. It has nothing to do with our breaking of illusion. It is just a good work, that's all. And it has its own fruits, that's good. But here, that is the reason why I'm telling you that you can't bring the same tools on the path of liberation what you are using day to day. They become useless. So you can't apply these rules. Okay, you ask me, I'll tell you law of karma is a profound spiritual law which never fails. But it is useless in your liberation. Otherwise, you can never get liberated. We all have done so many sins. It is not that when all the bad karmas are finished, then you get liberated. It's never like that. And there are hundreds of examples of the people who started really bad and they got liberated. Not after paying for all, just because God is full of mercy, compassion. If you want Him, He shows you Him in form of you. You don't have to wait to finish off everything. It's an endless cycle of illusion. It never ends. So, staying in domain of mind follows different rules. Liberation follows no rules. Otherwise, uneducated, poor villagers would never be liberated, because they don't know any Vedas, they have not read any books. They just say Ram, 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 and they get free. Only thing required is your intense longing to know that God. That is why I say, for an intellectual person following the path of Jnana Yoga is more difficult. It is much easier for a simple-hearted bhakta who prays to God. He loves God. He has an Isht Devta. Maybe he has an idol worshipper. Like Neelakantanji was saying about his mother who is a Krishna Bhakt. Much, much easier. Super fast. There is so much of love for that. So they always remember that. It's all about remembrance, nothing else. Simran. Remember the God by any technique and you are liberated. Till the end of this body in this life, if remembrance stays, death can not touch you, whatever way. Pick up whatever works for you. All paths are equally good, but they should work for you. As I teach yoga as an exercise to patients, but at the end I say, pick up whatever you can do every day. You can pick up your exercise, but do it regularly. Same is with sadhana, whatever works for you. All paths are equally good if you can stick to them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Om Shanti.
Thank you, Sanjay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sanjay.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.